Hello everyone, hope you're doing wonderful today. Welcome to another video. Today's video is a step-by-step tutorial on how to make these 3D flowers with resin. Let's get started. I do have quite a few videos on the same topic, but still get a lot of common questions. So I thought let me do a step-by-step and try and answer the questions in the process. Before I start, guys, this is my process of making these flowers. I'm sure different artists have different ways to do theirs. So the first and most important thing in this is the resin that you use. Right now my go-to brand to make the 3D flowers is the resin from Little Birdie, which you can find in the resincrafts store here in India. It's a medium viscosity resin, ratio of 2:1. It has a work time of approximately 45 minutes when the weather is cool. If the weather is hot, temperature is more, then you get a work time of around 30 minutes. So for the 3D flowers you need a higher viscosity or at least medium viscosity resin in order to get those details. Higher or medium viscosity resin basically means that your resin is thicker in nature. It also means that your resin will cure at a much faster rate. So for your designs to stay, you want the resin to be more on a thicker side. Today I'll be using a 5-inch silicone mold with a depth of 1 centimeter. So you want to fill at least somewhere between half to 3/4 of the mold. You need to fill it with that much of resin at least to get the 3D effect. So how do you calculate how much resin you need? For that I use this app called as Resin Calculator from Boreally. Choose the shape of your mold, enter the diameter and the depth of the mold, and it tells you approximately how much resin you might need. So for this mold I'm taking approximately 80 grams of resin. So in this total I've also included approximately 10 gram for my white opaque pigment. I'm using only one color today, white. So this includes for that too. If you're using more than one color, then take more amount of resin. I'm mixing the resin and hardener really well for at least 5 minutes and then allowing it to rest for another 5 minutes so that the air bubbles can disappear. Once I finish mixing the resin, I note down the time. So right now it is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The pigment that I'm using is a white opaque pigment, and it's not any kind of special pigment. It's the same one that I use for my to get the lacing effect in the beach. So this is from another brand. So these two are from two different brands and they work perfectly fine to make the flowers. So anything which is thick and concentrated should work. So it's 3:10 now. I've come back after 10 minutes and almost all the bubbles have disappeared. So guys, if you're using like a high viscosity resin, usually the curing process starts in 10 to 15 minutes after you're mixed. So if you're using such a resin for the first time, please check after every 5 minutes from the time you have mixed the resin. You do not want your resin to flash cure. So what you want to check is to see whether the resin is heating up. So right now after 10 minutes, the resin is still cool. There's no change in temperature. It's not warm. Here it is around 19 degrees Celsius where I'm working right now. So the temperature affects the resin. So this will the curing process will actually take longer because of the weather. So if it was the summer season, it would probably have started to become warm around the 15-minute mark. So always keep checking after 5 minutes or so in case of high and medium viscosity resin. In the 10-minute mark, the resin is still fluid. So at this point, if I put the pigments and pour my design, everything is going to sink down because it's still fluid. So I'm going to wait for the resin to thicken up. It's been 40 minutes since I have mixed the resin, and I feel that the consistency has become thick enough. The cup is becoming warmer, and it's the correct time to mix the pigments and make my design. So I kept checking after every 5 minutes, once a 10-minute mark had passed. And it took this much time probably because the temperature outside is really cool. Guys, the time I keep talking about is approximate. This might be different at a different place, so please test it at your place. What I'm doing now is removing approximately 10 grams of resin from the total of 80 grams for the white opaque pigment. And then pouring the remaining resin into the silicone mold. So this clear resin that I'm pouring should fill somewhere between half to 3/4 of the mold. If it fills that much, then you'll get a good 3D effect. For a 5-inch diameter coaster, around 10 grams of resin is enough. So if the diameter is more, please remove more amount of resin for a particular color. Once you pour the resin, then mixing the pigments and everything has to be quick, because the resin has already started to thicken up. From here the process will accelerate, so you don't want the resin to be too thick, else the pigments will not spread. So now I am putting a little bit of gold gilding flakes in the middle, so that there'll be some kind of shine in the middle. Next, I'm putting the white opaque pigment in the 10 grams of resin. So I usually take a popsicle stick and take a little bit at the end of a popsicle stick. For 10 grams of resin, approximately this much. Mix it nicely with the resin. Once the resin and the pigment is well combined, I'm going to start making the design. So you can make the design in different ways. I'm using the end of an old. You can use the popsicle stick too. In my previous video, I have used the piping method. I've put the pigment in a Ziploc bag, cut one end, and then made the design like that. Or you can even make a thin spout of the disposable paper cup and pour the design from it. I'm making a random design of a flower here. I'm using the popsicle stick to make the petals. You can use a skewer too. So you can actually see that as the time moves, especially the last circle that I made towards the border, the white pigment is spreading towards the middle. So that's the nature of the resin. From the back, it actually everything comes towards the middle. So as your resin is becoming thicker and more warmer, everything will come towards the middle. The pigmented resin is sinking and spreading towards the middle. So since the resin is thick, it will not sink too much, but whatever you have done first will sink first, then the next, and so on, hence giving you the 3D effect. This is after an hour and a half, so you can see that everything now has come towards the middle. We will demold this after 24 hours and check the other side. It's been 24 hours and you can see that I think the white pigmented resin spread even more and completely filled out everything. So here it is. And wow, there you go. Check it out. Check those petals. Check the 3D effect. Some important points to remember. Whatever timing I have mentioned, the time at which I make the petals, please don't take it at face value. Please test with whatever resin you have, because it will be different for different brands of resin and also different for different location depending on the weather. So if you're someone who's doing this for the first time, test it on a small 4-inch coaster so that you don't need too much of resin for it. The blue flower that I made here is with the high viscosity resin. So you can see that there's no much difference between the high viscosity and the medium viscosity as far as the design is concerned. The only difference here was the timing at which I made my petals. So the high viscosity probably 10 to 15 minutes before that of the medium viscosity. So you have to be alert here so that the resin does not flash cure. I hope I've answered all the doubts and questions. Do try this out and tag me. You can tag me on my Instagram channel at everything_resin. Thank you so much for watching. Do subscribe, comment, like and share. I will see you soon in the next one.